We have some amazing speakers in this session this afternoon. We're going to have 3 speakers come up first, have a Q&A with them, and then we'll join our online speaker, Richmond, coming all the way from Ghana. But first up, we have Catalina Balseiro, who describes herself as an innovation wave maker. She is the Chief Innovation and Knowledge Officer of Aigües de Barcelona, which provides water to over 3 million people in the area. And she previously worked as Head of Innovation with water and waste management company Suez, Spain. So please put your hands together and give a warm and wet welcome to Catalina Balseiro.
Thank you very much, Ed, for this kind introduction. When I saw the title of this session, I really liked it because Aigües de Barcelona, its activity depends 100% on water. So we need to guarantee that we provide with drinking water to 3 million people in the metropolitan area of Barcelona, and we need to make sure that this water comes back to the system in a good quality so that it does not have any negative impact. We take water from the river, we treat this drinking water in our water treatment facilities, then we send it to the people, to people's homes and to industries for the different usages in the metropolitan area of Barcelona, and then we take this water back through sewage, and it is sent to the treatment stations, and the objective is to send it back to the environment in a good quality. These recent years we have been working on regeneration treatments and reuse treatments, which allow us to give another use to this treated water. We need to perform a good treatment so that we can apply the circular economy concepts to water also, so that we can reuse it, making sure that we have resources in such a context of water urgency. So we have a drought now. In terms of water, we need to make sure that we have sufficient resources to provide water the area of Barcelona. So we need to guarantee that we can have rural and agricultural uses and urban uses in our territory. Here you can see some figures. We are managing 6 treatment sites, 6 purification sites, and we have tertiary treatments that give the second life to water, the water that we manage. And you see that our facilities are completely integrated into nature. So the water that we consume depends on these facilities, and this is how we make sure that we don't have a negative impact in the medium. So we have the purification sites and the regeneration sites. This regenerated water, as you will see in some of our projects, is brought back to the rivers, and sometimes we bring it also to our aquifers. And this is very important for us to make sure that our water systems are resilient. So we want to make sure that the consumption is also efficient. We want to reduce the pressure on our water resources. We also want to take care of rivers in cities, in the different ecosystems, and also because the water that we capture, its quality depends on the quality of the rivers. And we also want to take care of seas, because we need to minimize the impact of treated water in the water masses, be it rivers or seas. I would now like to share with you some specific projects that we have implemented in the innovation department at the company. And So, for you to see some specific projects that we are working on and what we want to continue doing in the following years, so that we have a minor impact on ecosystems, making also sure that we have sufficient resources to provide our users with water. The first one is a project that consists in using our aquifers as water reservoirs. So we have these infrastructures in the territory that contain water. And for example, we have in different basins in Catalonia. Last year, the rate was at 75%. Now the rate of water is 38%. So this is a really complicated situation. So to us, aquifers play a very important role because they are natural reservoirs or natural dams. In this project, this innovation project, which has been funded with a LIFE program by the EU, so we want to recharge or load our aquifers with this pre-treated water. We have a conventional treatment of water in our purification sites based on the use of filters, and then we have an advanced treatment which is inverse osmosis. And we have proved that we could charge or load these aquifers of the Llobregat River with this conventional treatment. This would allow us to increase the water resources that are available to us, and we could also bring more water into the ecosystem, and this would allow us also to solve some problems in terms of salt that we have when the sea water starts entering inside the aquifers. So this project would help us be more resilient because we would have more available resources in the ecosystem, but also we could avoid this saline intrusion inside the aquifer. Then we also have a project based on tertiary systems. So in nature, we have natural wetlands that help treat somehow the water. And for example, in this project, we wanted to create artificial wetlands in the Besós River. These artificial wetlands allow to improve the quality of the river and the biodiversity in the area. In this project, we saw the impact of these artificial wetlands or marshes in the fauna and the vegetation of this area, and so we saw a significant improvement. So we can get inspired by nature as a society, and we try to implement these projects in an artificial way. We try to improve the quality of biodiversity, and this is also one of our working lines, so that we are not too dependent on grey infrastructures, so concrete infrastructures. They are necessary, of course, but we also have other alternatives, such as those. Then, when we talk about the resource use efficiency in the metropolitan area of Barcelona, the water consumption is 100 liters per person per day. It's below, actually, the average recommended by WHO. So we are quite efficient. We are already using water in an efficient way, but we need to continue working on that because actually the situation is difficult. In the Mediterranean area and in Barcelona, we have a deficit in terms of water resources, taking into account the uses on our territory. So we need to continue working on that. This is a project that we have implemented with the City Council of Gavà and our research center. And here we put technology, this technology, Aigües, it allows us to measure the water used for cleaning the streets. Of course, if we do not measure things, we won't improve things. We won't be able to improve things. So this allows us to measure how water is used in the city, and thanks to that, we can improve somehow the way we use it. So we have indicators that allow us to know what are we using, how are we using this water, and so we work with the City Council to improve things. Another project is this one to promote regenerated water use. As I said before, one of our most important lines of innovation is to increase the use of regenerated water. We are giving water the second life thanks to these alternative treatments, and we are producing water which is absolutely usable for different uses in the city, in the agriculture, for example, for cleaning the streets, or to irrigate gardens, some agricultural uses. So now we have the necessary technology to produce this water, but now we need to boost these different usages in the water so that the infrastructures are also there. This project aims to that, and with that we are proving with these facilities called Regreen, we are proving that hydroponic agriculture could use regenerated water in our cities. Hydroponic agriculture requires less water, it's more efficient in the use of water, and also in the use of nutrients, which is also an impact that we have on water masses. So hydroponic agriculture would help us to be more efficient in these 2 points, which are very important in terms of agricultural sustainability. Here we prove that the water that we can use with this hydroponic agriculture is regenerated water. We are proving this. And here, for example, we have some lettuces planted, and strawberries also have this orchard, and we can prove the advantages of hydroponic agriculture and of regenerated water. And the aim is to raise awareness on the importance of boosting these 2 technologies. Finally, I would like to say something about how important water resources are, because while we have rains, we capture this water, we redistribute it to people, then this comes back to the receiving media, so the resource is global. The same water goes through the different points of the water cycle. So in order for us to manage that water, we need a global vision. So at Aigües de Barcelona, we have implemented this initiative. This is a center which allows us to have a global vision of water in the metropolitan region of Barcelona. Here, we control all the infrastructures, all the distribution networks, and so we can see water from a global point of view in our territory, because at the end of the day, water has no borders. So we need to have also this type of initiatives to have this integrated vision of this resource. And this helps us use water in a more efficient way also. And that's all. It was my pleasure sharing this with you. And if you have any questions, I'll be here also for the Q&A. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Catalina, for setting the scene there in terms of the Barcelona water system. So next up, we have Dr. Joaquim Garrabou, a part of the coordination of the team of sea watchers, the Observadores del Mar. And what Joaquim does is he looks under the sea to find nature-based solutions to climate change, looking at adaptation plans for coastal areas, as well as sustainable uses of marine resources, giving a voice to that silent world beneath the waves. So please welcome from the Institute of Marine Sciences, Dr. Joaquim Garrabou.
Thank you for the invitation. And my name is Garrabou. I know that many people say Garrabou as I'm French, but not, I'm Spanish, and it's Garrabou. Thank you. So I'm really happy to be here and share with you my experience as a coordinator of Observadores del Mar. And I'm going to start by telling you what is Observadores del Mar. Why I'm speaking in English, why I say that I speak in Spanish. ¿Qué es Observadores del Mar? Observadores del Mar es una plataforma de ciencia ciudadana abierta a todo el mundo que tiene como...
So, the main objective is to promote the conservation and oceans' health. We must admit, and I believe that all us are quite clear about it, that we are experiencing a time of emergency, the health emergency, the health crisis. There is a clear loss of biodiversity. We are at the doors of the sixth mass extinction, not to speak about the climate crisis. This summer, I believe we've all realized that we have a major problem. If you haven't realized about it, you are in trouble. So, there is no need to say that in order to tackle all these emergencies, we need an urgent transformation. We need to transform our societies, and we need to go towards sustainability. We have a major challenge ahead, and I've had the opportunity this morning to attend a session on climate justice, and it's been made even more clear that the challenge ahead is just immense, and that we require of your experience and your expertise. Having said that, the only way ahead is perseverance. We need to persevere in social transformation. Can you think about the world we would live in, the oceans we would swim in if people like you or those who lived before us had not persevered? It could be even more devastating. We need efficient tools to make sure that the transformation happens in a smooth and efficient manner. In this context, the Sea Watchers platform was born. At Sea Watch, we are convinced that citizen science is an important trigger for transformation. It's an important lever, rather, for transformation for three main reasons. Let me share them with you. First of all, because citizens' science contributes to knowledge development. We need to develop more indicators. We need to get to know what's going on out there. And we need to leave room to take decisions, for citizens to take decisions, to engage in marine conservation actions. And thus we will increase our capability to gather data, information, statistics. Secondly, awareness raising is very important, of course. We need to act as a spokesperson on all the issues affecting our seas, overfishing, etc. And then there's a third lever, which is that citizen science becomes a facilitator to allow dialogue between different stakeholders in the area of conservation, preservation, or those who are concerned about oceans' health. For 10 years now, actually in May this year, we'll be marking our 10th anniversary at the Sea Watchers. We are promoting a citizens' science platform that has allowed us to implement and efficiently dynamize a community. We are building up a community. I invite you to navigate through our website and all the resources available, as well as to follow us on the social media, so that you can be updated about our actions. It's been a very intense decade. We've been working hard. We have spared no effort in order to build a community of sea watchers, and I believe that this would not have been possible without the stamina, the enthusiasm, and the empathy of many individuals from different backgrounds, researchers, photographers, sea divers, fishermen and women that have supported us in the last 10 years, especially in the most difficult moments, because as you can imagine, there are ups and downs in projects of this nature, and having all these stakeholders backing us up has been paramount. So allow me to once again convey my regards to all of them. Here are a few figures about our working methods. I am not going to get into detail. Our working methods are quite normal, as in many other science platforms. People just contribute with observations. The specific feature, probably, of ours is that when it comes to observations validation, well, we're a little bit different here. We are extremely rigorous when observers, when sea watchers upload observations to our website. Such observations are validated by scientific teams. In the last 10 years, we have come up with a community of more than 4,000 sea watchers. We have around 300 partner entities, and one of the key elements that I would like to underline as a scientist or as a researcher, I feel especially proud of the fact that we have brought on board researchers from Spanish and international organizations, and we have gathered to make sure observations are scientifically validated. And this has turned into more than 18,000 observations, corresponding to around 17 active projects in the platform on different topics such as climate change, impact, the arrival of invasive species, marine litter, etc. I urge you to explore all the projects. Before concluding, I would like to share with you a quote by a sociologist and French philosopher, Edgar Morin, who celebrated his 100th anniversary and published this book. You can see it here in the slide. And Edgar Morin says, and I believe this is quite inspiring, at least he has inspired me, to persevere. He says, living is like sailing in an ocean of uncertainty, but trying to stop in certainty islands. End of quote. We must admit that we live in an uncertain time. Who would expect the war in the Ukraine? Who would expect the COVID-19 pandemic that we are still going out of? It seems like there's no more pandemic, but there are still people dying of COVID, not to speak about the loss of biodiversity, the climate crisis. All these phenomena are interrelated, and unless we understand the interactions between one crisis and another, it will be complicated to solve the crisis. In Sea Watchers, we know our way ahead towards these certainty islands. Actually, these certainty islands are right here. They are everywhere in nature. It's all about regaining our bond with nature. We must reconvince ourselves that we are part of nature. If we are capable of offering nature the necessary conditions, nature will be generous. Nature will pay back once again, because it's done it many times. Nature has a great recovery capacity. I'm a marine biologist, and let me assure you that when well managed, marine biodiversity regions recover quickly and fish populations grow again. So when given the right conditions, nature works. So in Sea Watchers, we embrace the challenge of helping nature, and hopefully we'll make it possible with your collaboration, because the future will be with nature or won't be. Now let me conclude. for good by sharing one of our slogans in sea waters. My regard, your regard, our regard is the change. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Joaquim. So yes, looking at how we get people involved and underwater and observing what changes are happening there and dealing with uncertainty. So our third speaker, before we move to Q&A, so do be thinking of the questions you would like to put to our panel, please, is Teresa Vicente Giménez. Am I going to get this right? I apologize for messing up everyone's pronunciation. Teresa is a passionate advocate for human and nature rights. She is a teacher of the philosophy of law and the chair of human rights and the rights of nature at the University of Murcia. Perhaps most interestingly, for those of you who have followed the stories emerging from around the world, like the Wanganui River in New Zealand, a couple of years ago, with a group of jurists, scientists, and activists, she promoted the popular legislative initiative to recognize the legal personality of the Mar Menor in the region of Murcia, and thus provide that lagoon with its own rights. So please welcome to the stage, Teresa.
Good morning, one and all, or rather good afternoon. Thank you very much for being here. Thanks for your presence, for your color. Thank you very much to the organizers for having invited me. And thank you very much to my colleagues, to my dear panelists, colleagues. So, we are happy. We have made it. Finally, the Mar Menor in Murcia was granted by the Spanish Parliament, by the majority of the Spanish Parliament. All political parties voted for the new bill recognizing the Mar Menor to be alive, to contain life, and thus the right for this life to be protected and recovered. Now the bill is at the Senate. It has already been adopted by the Commission. The popular legal initiative include a few remarks, but in Senate we say no to the amendment, and we made it. Our politicians, for the first time in a long time, are supporting us. We have risked our lives because we've come up with this proposal during COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the plenary session at the Senate will take place next Wednesday, September the 21st. Once this session has taken place, the bill will be published at the official bulletin through an emergency process, so it will enter into force on the very same day. So today, the bill on the Mar Menor is a fact. We invite you to attend the Senate. Many people will attend the Senate because this is a Spanish-wide success. The bill is has a Spanish scope, and we are in the framework of the United Nations program called Harmony with Nature. So we have been listening to very interesting presentations on new paradigms that stem from the climate emergency, the very severe climate emergency we are amidst. It is absolutely true that since the 70s, it has been said once and again that we were entering a new era, that planet Earth was sick, and not as a result of a meteorite, but rather as a result of a production and consumption model based on a wrong assumption, which is that human beings are superior to nature, differentiated from nature, and that nature is just a means to get to an end, and that it can be exploited endlessly by large corporations, multinational companies, and us as consumers, because the model is based on the never-ending exploitation of resources and the accumulation of wealth. Scientists, biologists, and other scientists have proved this axis wrong for many years now, but now we are experiencing the impact of the wrong model in first person. The fact is that things are going even worse. The fact is that, unfortunately, in the climate crisis, where the UN Intergovernmental Panel meets, has concluded that we are going down the wrong direction. Now, we have recognized the anthropocentric mistake. We are part of nature. We impact on nature, and we need nature to live. Nature doesn't need us, but we have a responsibility as a species. We are damaging other species' habitats, and we have also a responsibility with future generations. But nature would be much better off without us. So it's a matter of responsibility. So we need to engage justice, ethics, and environmental justice has to be grounded in the history of law and has to end up being transferred by a subjective and positive law. And the Mar Menor case is an interesting case. We're speaking about a salty lagoon in the region of Murcia, where I come from. Here's a short description. It is communicated with the Mediterranean through its tail. And as a result of its isolation, it has very specific features and a very high biological value, and it has allowed the development of endangered species. Now, what is the degradation of the lagoon didn't happen from one day to the next. My PhD thesis that I published at the end of the 80s was directed by an ecologist and a PhD in law. Law and ecology were split back then, and hybrid researchers or multidisciplinary research was not possible. But, well, in my case, I managed to do a multidisciplinary PhD thesis in the Faculty of Ecology of Murcia and Alicante. There were interesting research going on about Mar Menor and about how Mar Menor was being threatened as a result of a development model that would not listen to the sea, to its life. The reports were just published and things would go on and on. Back in the 60s, there was an incredible urban development. This is the start, right? We'll see how it looks now. Look at it, look at it. All these constructions should never have taken place. This is the urban development of the line splitting the Mar Menor from the Mediterranean Sea. Not to speak about the mining activities that, even if they do not operate anymore, keep throwing resources to the lagoon. So this has been happening year after year. But, well, today we experience climate change because we see that it doesn't rain. We can see all the index on the rise. But until back then, of course, there were some environmental groups. Well, scientists were aware about climate change, but not the average citizen. The Mar Menor is protected by the Ramsar Convention, the Barcelona Convention. We are a special preservation area of the Nature Network 2000. And not only this, not only international regulations. We are a regional park, we are a protected landscape. But what's quite striking and thought-provoking is that the social movement that has made this social conquest possible realizes that it was pointless. Look at what we found in October 2012. Children were playing in the beach, and I am sure you know the Mar Menor. You've probably heard of it. But what happened here is that all of a sudden fish started dying massively, and all the marine life started just, well, they committed suicide because they couldn't breathe. So this was quite striking. And as a result of that, we realized that in order to switch into a new environmental justice paradigm and to claim for rights for nature and claim for the right to life was quite striking amongst the population of Murcia. All of a sudden, the environmental call penetrated citizens, and they started asking for accountability to politicians and to call scientists to understand what had happened. They realized that all the protection schemes, which are indeed very important, I'm not saying the opposite, but it was understood that if the lagoon is so valuable, how is it possible that fish are committing suicide? Now, amongst professors attending the squares, here is me with some ecologists, ecological experts, and I raised the possibility of presenting a popular local initiative. The audience embraced it. The mayor of the region also, well, we're speaking about two initiatives. There's a provincial and a national initiative. We presented the municipal local initiative in Los Alcáceres. I'm not going to give you all the details because it would be too long, but of course we approved it and adopted it by absolute majority. And the popular regional popular initiative forces the possibility of the mayor having to go to the regional assembly in order to reaffirm the initiative and its approval. Then we presented the national popular initiative before the Spanish Parliament, the Spanish National Parliament. There is a little procedure difference between one initiative and the other, and which is that for the municipal popular initiative, the one we won, and thus obtain rights for the Mar Menor, you need municipalities to have certain characteristics, such as it being in a sea basin, having more than 100,000 inhabitants. Oh, here you can see the members of the commission, 5 women and 3 men. No one was expecting us at the National Parliament. Well, I wanted to make sure that we would be received, because this happened amidst the COVID-19 lockdown period. So we attended the register of the National Parliament, and when we stepped in, we realized that the minister embraced us. The minister was waiting for us, Teresa, and she told us that we could meet in a room, but if we wanted to be all together, we had to meet outside. I went into the register and stamped the initiative, and then we obtained the register on the very same day it was presented. And that's when the pathway started. What happened? Well, the bill was admitted, but then there is a procedure. The board of the National Parliament has to assess it, etc. Well, it's a long story. But then, all of a sudden, we were given, the format of the bill was admitted, because, of course, so the bill establishes a maximum timeline of 1 year for the procedure, 9 months plus 3 extra months. But of course, the problem was that we were hit by the pandemic, we were locked down at home. Once the clock started ticking, it took us 1 month to recover the documents, because we were not capable of leaving the region. Then we, of course, got in touch with the national parliament because we wanted to make sure that the clock would stop clicking. And then even the Prime Minister signed the bill. Many people risked their lives. Many people got contaminated by COVID-19, but they would jump into the squares on their way out from hospital. We were still lacking a few signatures because you need 500,000 signatures. So I asked for an extra period, an extraordinary period, but actually we didn't need it because the Mar Menor spoke up again in a language that we all understand, which is, again, suicide, the language of suicide. And that was nuts, as in thousands and thousands of documents a day. No one ever asked again, what do you speak about when you speak about the rights of Mar Menor? The message was clear. Everyone wanted to sign the document, to participate. It was quite crazy. So we made it in less than 3 months.
So we had 638,000 signatures at the end of the process, but that was really a success. We received signatures from all over Spain, and when we went back to the University of Murcia, the chair of nature rights, well, we went back there and we were so thankful. And so we got signatures from the Canary Island, Mallorca. So we counted them all. At the end, we get 700,000. So we want to thank the citizens and many people from Barcelona. So this is the moment when the process was admitted and the national parliament. So we had this full competency. In the previous picture, well, the previous picture was taken when I was asked to explain our reasons to ask for this law defending life, because this is at the core of life. We are their voice, and we need to defend what they are. And so this is very important, the defense of nature. Okay, so this is our triumph. And Vox was the only political party that said no, the 52 votes against. And citizens are always with us. And it was really a triumph of citizenship. This is the day, well, first we had this majority, and then in the Congress, they all said yes again. They did not betray us. And this is the day when we got this success. And, well, our amendments were not transformed. I mean, the amendments were negotiated at the Senate. And, well, that was a success. We had the support of the public university, then the people, the engine with this new ecological ethics, and then also the political part. We had some politicians that, well, helped us, but the Senate, the Esquerra Republicana party, well, they helped us, actually, because we were missing one vote, but finally, well, they supported us and they helped us, okay? So As of now, the text has been approved as we prepared it, and then at the plenary next Wednesday it will be re-voted, and so we hope that we will succeed. But you see, until the last minute, we have been working, and for once, the politicians have supported that. This is the UN program. They called us and they invited us in the international panel where the rights of nature are defended. And on the 22nd of April, this is the Day of the Earth. We went there. This is the General Assembly at the UN, and we have the Secretary General of the University. And then in second place, you see the mayor of the Alcázares, and then Eduardo Salazar. He is a Greenpeace lawyer. He is in charge of some interesting cases, and he also helped us. And so there we gathered with many people, because in all continents, in absolutely all the continents, there are some these ecosystems that have their own rights. And this is the last report of the Secretary General of the UN, published in July. He mentions us many times. He congratulates us, and he cites other cases in the world. Thank you very much. On behalf of the Spanish citizenship, we start a new era, and we need to share life and the rights, not just with all human rights. This we got this last century, but now we also share this life with other non-human beings, and that was really a triumph, a very important triumph for Europe. Thank you.
Okay. Amazing stuff. I think we'll all agree, but we only have now a few minutes for questions. So I'm going to open it straight up to the floor, I think, to make the most of the questions that I'm sure you will have for those three excellent guests. So can we have the lights up and the microphones out? I'll try and take the questions a couple at a time. So got one at the back there, please.
Thank you so much for your presentations.
En español es bueno.
Sí. My question is for Catalina, and a couple of them, the desalination plants all along Spain, how much percentage of water is goes into what you do, and what is the percentage of the water that goes to agriculture in Spain? And another one, sorry, but is there any initiatives for restoration of the water cycles and the landscape upstream from here as well? Is there any initiatives or any programs restoring the small water cycle?
Okay, great. That's the first one. We've got another one out there. Am I being blind? Can people see that? Sorry, it's very difficult to see from the stage. Yep. And then there's one in the middle as well. We'll take three and then we'll try and rattle through them.
Gracias. Mi pregunta.
My question is also for Catalina, and it has to do with Aigües de Barcelona and the fact that in some situations it makes sense to have something called natural monopoly for the water distribution, but this creates, however, some specificities that we need to navigate using the reference made by Joaquim before. So the delicate situation of this natural monopoly for the distribution of such an important resource, how do you manage that in Aigües de Barcelona?
The third one in the middle, please.
También, si...
Yes, when you talk about agriculture, are you talking about agro-industry or eco-agriculture? Because there is a big difference between the water that is used by the industry, which pollutes. That's what happened in the Mar Menor situation, actually, and that's what's happening in the Baix Llobregat Agricultural Park. So there is a difference between this and ecological agriculture. So when you say 70% agriculture, is it agro-industry, and what's the percentage, if so?
Okay, and we'll take the fourth one in the middle.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for, gracias por vuestras presentaciones.
Thank you for those presentations. They were all very different, but very clarifying, all of them. I have a question for Teresa. Which are the practical implications of this law now that it has been approved? What are you going to do? I understand that unfortunately we cannot destroy all these buildings, but which are the practical implications? So saying you cannot do this, or how are you going to reintroduce the fauna and all of this? And congratulations.
Okay, fantastic. So let's take, Catalina, would you like to take those first three almost together? So there's a question around desalination and the amount of water that's going to agriculture and what types, I guess is the first part. And then there's the restoration of upstream water cycles, and then this question of natural monopoly. So three parts to your first question, and then we'll come to Teresa.
Sí, bueno, actualmente a nivel
Sure.
general, ¿no?
Well, in general, in average, 70% of consumption of water goes to agriculture. So in a way, the main consumption of resources is, well, agriculture. This is why it is so important also that the technification of the agricultural sector takes place so that it can make an efficient use of water. Of course, there are other impacts on water masses related to the nutrients. The other 30% is divided between industry and domestic uses. It is true that as water operators, drinking water operators, the main uses are domestic and industrial. But when we see water as a general resource, as I said, because at the end of the day, water is a unique resource that has then different uses, the reality is that most uses are agricultural uses. So most of the efficiency programs are focused on this sector. When we talk about restoration, well, to me, well, it's very important. We know that the Spanish government has received very important funds from the EU, Next Generation funds, and most of those funds will be allocated to ecosystems restoration projects. So wetlands, river rims. So we hope that in these years we will have big investments for the restoration of the ecosystems. And so the ecosystem services will be increased in those territories, and we will also have more green infrastructures such as these artificial wetlands, which will allow nature to do its job at the end of the day. Because most of those processes, nature does them naturally and spontaneously. So that's what we want. We need to have more efficient treatments to allow it to do so. So the idea is that with these ecosystem services, we will help nature to continue playing its role. Then there was a question about the natural monopoly. Well, our role in the water management process is the role of operator. So the operator needs to manage the resource, and the operator needs to set the standard of the services that need to be provided in terms of the water system. So we are the operator of this service in Barcelona. Water operators work based on different models. There are some concession models that are there are then public and private partnerships with the administration. So, in the framework of public tenders, there are different models, but regulators are our customers in our case, and so, well, in each territory, this may vary. So, this global vision around the natural monopoly, well, is in the hands of the regulator, and our role is to give services, provide services inside this context. And then we have mentioned again the agriculture. Well, at the end of the day, what we wanted to do with this project was to boost the use of regenerated water in the agriculture to make it more sustainable. It doesn't mean that the agriculture becomes ecological, no, because we would need other standards for that, but in a way it is more sustainable because it would use this type of water that is regenerated, so we are giving the second life to this water, so we reduce the pressure on the resource.
I really want to give Teresa a chance just to respond to the last question as well before we break. So, Teresa, amazing that you got this far with the 700,000 people signing up and you get the law. What happens now?
Yeah.
What are the implications?
Yeah. Bueno, me gusta la pregunta.
I like this question very much because this is the question that everyone is asking us. Because before they asked, but how do you want to give rights to the nature? How come? And now that's done. We have given rights to the nature. Another question is, and what now? I'll try and be brief, because now the important thing, and I'm saying this as a jurist, because I work in courts of justice, but first we need to savor the triumph and to see what this means. Because yes, we need to fight for rights, because, for example, women, my grandmother did not have rights. We sometimes we are being killed by our partners sometimes, but we have rights, and we had to fight for that. So that's very important. So there is already a subject of rights. The administrations failed in the past. So now we have this new environmental right, and with biologists, with ecologists, and with all the things that we have done. So we need to know that we are nature and we are the voice of nature. That's very important. So we are not alone. This is a global movement now. And this is a movement which is so important. Thanks to ecological movements, we have come to this point, but we did not work with Greenpeace or others. No, that was a people's movement. So people became activists when they saw this death in nature and when they are aware that nature has rights. So now we have the most powerful tool in law. And so in the United Nations context, these programs on the rights of nature started back in 2009. You can take a look to the different reports. All continents are covered. And you will find the list of the municipalities that have given rights to nature. So we need to start seeing nature as our companion, as our colleague in life. We are sharing life with it. And after the Children's Universal Declaration, many things were modified. Well, this time we hope that we also, this will also help us modify other things. As in the past, when the rights of children were approved, many things changed. I know I'm speaking very fast, but, well, this popular action has been awarded. Now we are all the voice of the Mar Menor. Of course, there is a committee, but we are all the voice of it. And, of course, we don't want... So we did this because all policies, for example, the plan launched by the minister, the protection plans, we don't want this to depend just on one politician, because it does not depend on one only principle, but this is a subjective right. And I think that, well, I've said it many times, so, and I don't have more time, so I'll finish with that.
Thank you so much to our amazing panelists. We have one more guest panelist. I'm going to ask you just to thank these guys one more time and ask them to take their seats back in the audience. So Teresa, Joaquim, and Catalina, thank you very much indeed. And then hopefully we are going to be joined internationally by our good friend Richmond Kennedy Quarcoo, who is known as Ghana's Plastic Man. Now, Richmond is a trained merchant Navy officer. He's got a degree in nautical sciences from the Regional Maritime University in Accra. But what motivated Richmond was seeing the deadly effects of plastic pollution on Ghana's turtle population. So he started beach cleanups to try and create safe havens for the turtles. He started an organization called Plastic Punch, which is a non-governmental organization that tries to tackle the plastic pollution problem head-on with citizen science like the Observadores de Mar and grassroots initiatives. And it's all about behavior change and sustainable waste management practices. But hopefully we have Richmond with us online to tell us a bit more about his work. Are you there, Richmond?
I'm here. Hello, everyone. Hello, Barcelona. Thanks so much for having us.
Yes.
An amazing panel, such an honor to be here. So my name is Richmond, like you said, director of Punch. So we are an NGO, a citizen-centered approach to raise awareness and to inspire real change. So I'll be showing you through the presentation some of our works, actively to get citizens support, to influence policy direction, etc. So I'm going to show you about Ghana. If you've never been, it's a very beautiful country located at the center of the world, and we are more than welcome to come visit. The next slide is pretty disturbing of Ghana. It doesn't at all represent what the whole country looks like. So that I should invite you if you've not been. So, despite MAPOL and its 4 treaty that prohibits, and its 5 treaty that prohibits the dumping of refuse at sea, plastics in the ocean are increasing at an alarming rate. And like you can see from this picture from Eduardo Vazquez, who is a plastic puncher, a Spanish photographer, you can see the devastating effects due to ineffective waste management that we find on our beaches or some of our coastlines in Ghana. So, plastic punch, for us, in most of the communities where we work, we are very interested in sea turtle areas because sea turtles play a very important role in the ocean system. This presentation will be more towards our data sets and how we influence policy direction, but we are also a lot into sea turtle protection. And like you can see in this picture by Eduardo, you can see all the single-use plastics. And in some areas where we work, fisher folks are catching more plastics than fishes. And this was supposed to happen by 2050, but it's already devastating livelihoods and a lot of different impacts on health, on humans, and the environment at large. This is how we started our project. So it was as a direct response to this tragedy. Plastic Punch was formed by a group of multinationals in different professions concerned about the environment. So we went to a turtle nesting, turtle monitoring session, and out of the 6 turtles we saw on that evening, 5 of them were dead. And these are some of the turtles that we saw. You could see the one in the middle is obviously by propeller action. The one on the far right was physically entangled with a lot of plastics around its neck. So you could see the impact that had over there. So in acting, we thought we should bring the community in contact with the problem because most of these beaches where we visit or where we work, I will call them wild beaches. They are not touristic beaches where people come and have drinks and things. All the trash which comes there is brought in by ocean currents of course, from lagoons or water or sewage streams from the inner city. So we bring the community together You can see all the energy. So Saturday mornings, you have like 200 to 400 volunteers with all the punching. We say plastic, everybody says plastic punch. So you see that energy there. All works. So everybody from everywhere in Accra, we call for online registration, and we have all these punchers coming over. Because we want to inspire behavioral change, our events are plastic free, where we introduce or we reintroduce indigenous solutions or things we used to do back in Ghana, like drinking from the calabash, eating from the leaves. So the beach cleanup is plastic free. Volunteers come with their reusable bottles where we refill, so we don't create any waste at this beach cleanup. It's a very peculiar model that we have designed. So you can see a shot of punches, and we find different types of trash on the beach. However, we also provide reusable equipment, gloves, sacks. And this is where it gets interesting with our model, because then we are very much aware that the beach cleanup is not a solution. The trash is going to come back just after 4 hours. However, it is a very good avenue for us to collect relevant data on what is polluting and who is polluting. And then with this information, we are able to support the waste management systems and also report to the SDG 14.1 indicators for the Republic of Ghana. So we segregate at the beach, or we sort all trash. Volunteers stick to specific items. If volunteers are picking shoes, they keep picking shoes. If you are picking plastic bottles, you keep picking that, so that we can be able to recycle at the end what is recyclable, and then also to demonstrate to the community the concept of sorting and everything. We collect data on every pollutant. So textiles is one of the biggest pollutants after plastics that we find. We take data on that. We take data on e-waste. We take data on all the types of waste that we find. And every volunteer really wants to know how much they are collecting. So this is a quick, I'm going to do a quick run with data. And these are some of the data sets that we were collecting. So just to show you the correlation between plastics and non-plastics, because most of the time we usually often get trapped that we find only plastics, but we find a lot of other trash which comes from our homes and due to ineffective waste management systems. To give you an overview from the beach cleanup, what we try to understand the who is polluting. So you could see, or no, the what is polluting. So you could see there's like mixed trash, there are shoes, there's textile, 26% of that, bottle caps, plastic cups, plastic sachet is used for water drinking. So with this, we are able to understand and look with the municipality and be like, okay, with this point, like the PET plastic bottles, if we come up with collection points or collection centers, we will be able to maximize its collection, and then it will not find itself on the ocean anymore or by the beach anymore. So that is the model. That is what we do, understanding this and then translating solutions into the communities. So in one of the communities where we work, which I'll be showing a short video, the municipal health officer over there did mention that since 2019, when Plastic Punch started to work in this district, they have not recorded any issues of flooding. And that is to say that all these plastics that go and clog the gutters, and when it rains causes flooding, it happens that because people are recycling and segregating and know or are aware through all our concepts, they are able to monetize it. I want to put a quick disclaimer that our strategy is specifically towards reduction. We know recycling is one of the solutions, but it is not the ultimate solution, and we bet more towards reduction than recycling. So different ideas of the different types of pollutants we find and its correlation. Shoes are always constant, textiles are always a constant. And this is what we do over periods to understand what is going. So over this, we analyze the data to understand what is going higher, what is reducing, so that we could adapt our awareness strategies in the schools and in the churches and generally in the community, and also sharing knowledge with the municipal assembly, whose mandate it is to manage waste. So you could see over a 3-month period from February to April, you realize that there's a significant drop in some of the indicators. So this was a project we did with the UNEP BRS. And what we did was we adopted the OSPA protocol. We translated it into the Ghanaian system, because our beaches are different and the amount of trash is more, to monitor and understand. We also collect data on who is polluting, to understand the companies who are polluting, so that we can be able to hold them more responsible for the trash they produce. At the same time, also encouraging them to switch to alternatives like glass and more reusable alternative, or invest into research and development for more eco-friendly products. So we get data on who is polluting. This data set right now has been used to start driving an extended producer responsibility conversation in Ghana. So we are going to have an extended producer responsibility regime. And because we are able to have data on the different pollutants or the different companies on the different beaches, it serves as a very good baseline to advocate for this. And we are really excited that we are having a very multi-stakeholder discussion around it right now in Ghana. That's the extended producer responsibility. And by December 2023, it should be passed into law. So this is to say, or this is to reiterate the power of citizen science. So this is what we do with the data. We advocate and direct waste management directions. We share our data sets with the Ghana Statistical Service and the EPA to record our reports for the 14.1 SDG indicators of the Republic of Ghana. We also work a lot with different scientists, or we are advocating towards the extended producer regime, which is working really well. It's a national conversation right now. And we also are interested at Plastic Punch in different ocean data beyond the macro. So we are interested in micro, we are interested in measuring nutrients in the community, the nutrients in the water, or checking metals in water in the communities that we serve, just to understand and inform policy direction, and also the actors, to inform the actors for us to have a cleaner and safer environment. This short video is a small model. And this is to say that if we do not act in Ghana, you can see this dark over here. If we do not act in Ghana, this is where our trash is going to come up on. I mean, the trash shouldn't get to the beach, but that's to say that if we leave what we find on our coastline, we're going to find this all in the Pacific patch one day. So that is it for the beach cleanup. And I will use the rest of the minutes to go through our other initiatives that we have, citizen science tools. So we have an app to collect data on sea turtles, and I encourage all of you to download this on Android. It's called the Plastic Punch Sea Turtle app. And the idea is that we have patrollers. We also have citizens, just people who spot sea turtles and don't know what to do. For us, we provide basic information generally on handling sea turtles, or what to do when you see, and the do's and the don'ts. However, what this app does is that we are able to get data in real time, and in location and in pictures of where the sea turtles are coming up, so that we can understand more our efforts in protection of the sea turtle population of Ghana. So I encourage all of you to download the Plastic Punch Sea Turtle app on Google Play Store. It's not yet on Android, on iOS, but very soon. So beyond beach cleanup and tech stuff, we go into the communities, and we have what we call edutainment to raise awareness for more ocean literacy, climate action, and everything. And we use different methods, which I'll be running you through. We have like artistic workshops. We have upcycling workshops. We teach composting workshops, because organic waste is also a very big component of waste that we find, waste stream that we find here. So how people to use their organic waste into other stuffs. We also have like maths book workshops. We have so many types of workshops that we do that is not captured here. We also have the Plastic Punch Theater and the series to be able. So this is a mass media tool, and this tool is used to reach to communities beyond the coastlines that we are not able to reach. So this is on TV, in buses, and ideally, it's stating the problem we have of plastic pollution or improper waste management, also indiscriminate disposal, as well as triggering specific conversations around sanitation laws, enforcement of this law. So yes, it's a series, but it's bringing out really strong content. We have it in a theater, in a series. It's available on our YouTube. You can check it out. We go to the churches, the schools. We have animation concepts. We are in a lot of documentaries. We do flea markets, and we plug at marathons, the flea markets, so that we are able to encourage or promote circularity. Rather than fast buying and responsible consumption, ideally. We have a game also on Android, and this is a later version of the game. But ideally, what this game seeks to tell you is that I'm on an island, the beach gets dirty, I need to clean it, and when I clean it and I get the plastics, I get some points from the plastics, I'm able to buy more equipment, I'm able to clean faster. By the time I come back, there's trash on the beach again, so that I don't get complacent with my because of the ocean currents, so that we don't get complacent and understand that besides what it generates from inside, which is mostly 70%, which CECODE says, then there is 30% of floating trash, which would come from everywhere. I end this way to show you how a beach will work. One of the beaches we've been monitoring a lot. In March 2019, this is how this beach was looking like. By January 2020, with a lot of volunteers and a lot of tons cleared, we made it as white as this. And this is a turtle nesting beach, and sea turtles still come here. You can imagine the stress to be able to lay eggs over here or to nest over here. So we came back in September 2020, and this is how the beach was looking like. This is to say that the trash starts from our home, and this break was because of COVID. So there was this break because of COVID. We all had to stay home. We didn't know what was happening. And then, so we came back, and this was the condition of the beach. We saw upshoots of more single-use packaging in the waste streams that we found. And it was sad. It is sad. And we started to clean again, March 2022. We made it clean by 26th March 2022. And then we went back after March 26th. And then this is June 4th. This is to reiterate that the beach cleanups are not a solution to the menace. However, the change starts with you. And I want to thank the organizers for reiterating or putting into action the the concept of reuse in Barcelona, in encouraging everybody to come with their reusable bottles, their tote bags. And this is the way we should go. We should go towards a world of more economy. We should also remind ourselves or remember that reduction is always the best way. Refuse, reuse, reduce. That's the way we should go. And that should be the mentality for all of us. To end, I would say we are creating solutions at Plastic Punch also. And one of the solutions we are creating is coming up with innovative, coming up with alternatives to plastic, to fossil fuel-based plastic using cassava, sugarcane, or industrial hemp. So we are still in the research phase of this, and soon we'll be prototyping. I'll end by playing a short video for you to have just a feeling of the energy which comes from our beach cleanups. And then, so this is the recap for our beach cleanup just last week. Just this ended past Saturday with Global Citizen. And oh no, this is not a beach cleanup. And just for you to have an idea, the energy that that comes at the Plastic Punch cleanups. So we had a beach cleanup with Global Citizen. Okay, so this is a trailer of the Plastic Punch series. You can check it on YouTube. It's a 1-minute video.
As a government, it's a new tax force. I try to sanitation police.
Environmental pollution. If tourists come, if you hear they will come.
Here I have no video, so I'm going to try one more time to show the video quickly of the beach cleanup, and I'll say thank you very much just for you to have the energy from the beach cleanups. So let's try again, and I hope this works. So this is from our last cleanup. Thank you very much for being My audience, thank you very much for having us on board, and we look forward to punching more with you for people and planet. Let's fix the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Richmond. Amazing. I mean, my first thought is just how dispiriting it must feel when you keep going back to those same beaches and they're covered in plastic again. So, I mean, respect to your tenacity and the fact that you keep going back. I guess I want to ask one question myself, and then I'll open up just to have one or two questions from the audience. But how effective is that kind of push you are doing on the producer responsibility? Because clearly, you know, even if people are trying to do the right thing and they're trying to do the cleanups, it's almost like a never... Behind you. Oh, it's behind you. Ah, this is better. Yes, now I can see you better. I was getting a crick in my neck. Yeah, so how effective is the kind of the pressure you can put on those producers? Because they should be taking responsibility for the full life cycle, shouldn't they? And basically designing out so much of this plastic.
Thank you very much for that. And it's so this produce, producers, we know they are always key with greenwashing schemes. There's one right here which was recently reported on Bloomberg. There's this coalition of enterprises. So it's a real issue. However, what we have done with this producer responsibility is it's being coordinated through the National Plastic Action Partnership in Ghana. And so because we have a multi-stakeholder platform with government over the PSOs, private sector, and informal waste sector, what is happening is we are having the discussion now from scratch, using the relevance or the experience from countries who have already implemented EPLs, like Germany, like Kenya, looking at all these cases and looking at and asking, what is good for us in Ghana? There are specific timelines. There are data required to guide some of the actions which Plastic Punch is providing. So it's accelerating the process. After this discussion, there are clear timelines, and what will happen is that as the discussion keeps going, or which private sector is in the room, when we finalize the discussion, we will not go back to that. It will just become a law because we have to go back into the Ministry of Environment. Everybody has realized it's an issue. These companies need to take more responsibility. And before we started bringing the data sets out, people didn't really think of the company or companies when it comes to trash generation and everything. People just, because these companies have done very well with their PR, blame the citizens for the people, for the place being polluted, rather than them not taking action in putting like collection points or coming up with more reasonable alternatives. So definitely, yes, the power of the citizens and drawing awareness to this has definitely driven this change. We are starting to have this conversation, and by December 2023, we'll have this law and an EPR in Ghana.
Okay, great. Let's have one question from the room. If there's one question in the audience, does someone have a question for Richmond? I can't see the hands here. One on the right there, thank you.
Hi, thank you very much for your sharing. I've been working with a platform trying to incentivize recycling as well, especially the recovery of plastic and of course the recycling in local communities all over. So I'm from Brazil originally, living in Barcelona. And it's interesting what you're saying right now, which is the responsibility of the large corporations, which is much more like where we should be tackling this, no, which is large scale. But on the other hand, how are we working with the community and bringing back the other panel that we're watching this morning? Like how should we be working with the narratives with the consumers, with the citizens that we are before being consumers? Because these companies, they can change what they're doing, but what are we doing to actually help them change? how we're forging our consumption models as well, how we're educating or helping our communities to become more conscious of what we're consuming, which is like such a challenge, right? Because these corporations, they can be changing, but we are consuming what they're offering. So we need to go deeper, and we need to tackle education, we need to tackle the consumerism. What is your point of view regarding that? And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very interesting work. So I'll take it from the community and I'll take it to how we work with this community. So how, with the companies, I mean. So with the community, in Ghana, we have a very strong culture 15 years ago of reuse. We have a very strong culture of reuse. So what we are doing with community is pushing a strategy of reduction. When I was growing up here in Ghana, going to the market or you either go with the reusable boat or with the reusable bag or a basket to the market. And now, because of, I don't know what happened, consumerism, people just doing things quickly for convenience, there's this influx of plastics. So we are more promoting what we call Sankofa, that go back to the root over here in Ghana, encouraging community, as we were doing just some years ago. And we could see the direct impact because our beaches were super clean 15 to 20 years. And then just because of change lifestyle, we are going crazy. At the same time, there's not so much recycling facilities over here. Therefore, if anybody wants to be in the business of collection or recycling, they're definitely going to make a loss unless they get some grant support the project. So what I want to say, it's not an enabling environment for recycling. It's not, because there are fewer recycling systems over here. Collection is more difficult and expensive. So in communities, we promote more reduction. We also promote collection point. Somehow people are making revenue from it. It's not enough, but when we hopefully a 1 kilogram, which gives them less than, will now give them like $10 when we implement the EPR. So that is the direction and how we are going with communities. We are also empowering the community to support us or to collect data together. So the community help us collect this data on the brand audit, hold these companies responsible when we write to them. With their companies, we have been working, or we are working on solutions at the launch. We are starting to develop alternatives. So depending on which company, because these companies behave differently, how they are receptive to data and information. But the baseline is what we are doing is doing more research in packaging solutions. And at the moment, we are testing algae, we are testing coconut fiber, we are testing the potential for industrial hemp over here. Ideally, things that come from post-harvest loss. We are also doing like analysis of going back to the reuse economy for most of these brands and presenting to them at some point to be like, hey, guys. But, all this will be an aftermath of the EPR system because then when the EPR comes and they start paying more for their plastics that they produce, then they'll have no option to go back to the reusable systems, some alternatives, even such as easy as tin. Aluminium. I don't know if it's the best, but we would have to figure out what would be the best. But glass is definitely the best, and it's very easy to go back to glass. So, yes, I hope I answered the question. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. But yes, with the collective effort and collective support also from the municipalities where we work and the communities where we serve, definitely these data points are working and it's getting into the ears of the companies, also with support of the media, who propagates this really strongly over here in Ghana, because it's a blame game which has been going on for a while, but nobody has really pointed fingers towards them for a while. So we start to point a little fingers, though that is not the best way to solve this. It's one of the ways, definitely. The best way to solve is for collective action. All of us come together and protect our Mother Earth. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for Richmond.